Some people say evil of this degree is incomprehensible. They say we will never understand it. Some people even say that the word evil is insufficient to describe the Holocaust, and instead they use terms like mad, crazy, insane. I think they're wrong. What we saw there at Treblinka and Belsen and Auschwitz and Dachau was the image of the inferno. That may have been the ultimate purpose of those who made the Holocaust, a grotesque effort to hurl the earth into the very pit of the serpent. I believe the Holocaust is comprehensible. Indeed, we must comprehend it. We have no choice. The future of mankind depends upon it.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and welcome to this month's Live From at the Reagan Library. Remember, we typically do these on the first Wednesday of every month. So I am standing now in a gallery that I came to from last month, but last month these gallery walls were empty. But on March 24th, we opened up our brand new special exhibition, an exhibition of extraordinary historical significance. As I said to you last month, no book, no podcast, nor history lesson can prepare you for the power and impact that this collection of artifacts holds. So in today's Live From, we're going to come to you from inside our brand new special exhibition, Auschwitz, Not Long Ago, Not Far Away. This exhibition is a collection of over 700 original artifacts that were direct witnesses to the horror of Auschwitz and the Holocaust. It's important to note that this exhibition is on a 7-city tour, and the Reagan Library is City 5. Within these 7 cities, we are the only location anywhere on the West Coast. So if you want to see this exhibition, and I highly suggest you do, and you're anywhere in the drivable area, really recommend you come out to the Reagan Library, or you might not get a chance to see what this exhibition holds. So where am I exactly standing? When deportees arrived at the camps, if they survived the selection process, they were stripped, shaved, tattooed, and then registered into the camps. But those that were registered due to brutality, forced slave labor, starvation, and the atrocious conditions of the camps usually only lived a couple of weeks, if not just a couple of months. But if you did survive the selection process, in the evening when it was time to go to sleep, you were sent to the barracks. And I am standing in an actual portion of a real barracks from the Auschwitz camp. Auschwitz was known as a slave labor camp where all of the prisoners were forced to help build a synthetic oil and rubber plant. Now over here to my right, you are seeing a prisoner's uniform. Every single camp, all the prisoners always wore this same uniform. And it was Ravensbrück, which was a women's camp, that made all of the striped linen material for the prisoner uniforms, and then that material was sent to the larger camps that had tailor shops. Those tailor shops then made the uniforms that were sent across all camps. In Auschwitz specifically, most prisoners were given the uniforms of a recently deceased prisoner, whether he or she was actually murdered or died. If Auschwitz ran out of prisoner uniforms, a prisoner would wear civilian clothes that had been marked with paint and with a badge. Go over here to my left now. We're going to take a look at a bowl and a spoon. Each prisoner was assigned a bowl and spoon. They had to keep it. They couldn't lose it. This was the only way they were able to eat. This wooden spoon here says Zoska on it, number 30921. They were actually able to trace it, that it belonged to Auschwitz prisoner Stanislaw Suite, who was registered into the camps in April of 1942 and unfortunately died just a few months later in June of 1942. Now, what were prisoners fed on a daily basis? In the morning, they received like 2 cups of boiling water mixed with chicory. That was it. In the afternoon, they might be given 4 cups of a soup-like water consistency, usually rancid, usually had a spoiled potato or rutabaga in it. And then in the evenings, they would receive 10 ounces of a dry, stale black bread. If they were lucky, maybe 1 slice of sausage, maybe a little bit of marmalade, maybe a little bit of butter, and that's all they got. And yet they were doing forced labor all day long. And this is what really led to the starvation and death of many prisoners. So over here is an actual stretcher used in the camps. No stretchers were not used to help those who were injured and needed medical assistance. Stretchers were used either to help carry the dead bodies from the gas chambers to the crematorium, or in some instances when people had just given up, they were starving, they were fatigued, they just couldn't move on anymore. Those people would be carried on the stretchers to the gas chambers where they would find their final fate. Behind me here, you'll see an original medical table and medical tools from the camps. Every single camp had a medical department. In Auschwitz, the medical department was overseen by 30 SS physicians. Those physicians oversaw the medical health of all of the SS guards. They also oversaw the prisoner doctors who sometimes saw prisoner patients. But the physicians also were the ones who stood with the SS guards as the deportees arrived off the trains, and it was the physicians who led the selection process, who was going to live and who was going to die. Some of the doctors exploited their power and their position and used their power as a physician to do, and I'm using these terms loosely in quotes, medical research. The most famous of these, or notorious of these, was Dr. Joseph Mengele. He had a fascination with twins, and he would use one twin as his control subject. He would do medical research on the other twin, but really it was medical torture. But because of his zeal for finding twins, he would often volunteer his services for the selection process as the trains arrived at the camp. Because of that, he really became the face of death at Auschwitz. So this exhibition, as I said just a little bit ago, has over 700 artifacts, and obviously if you can't show them all, I've shown you a handful in this gallery. I will now take a step back. We'll show you a handful of other things amongst the rest of the gallery. It is 12,500 square feet, so now we're going to go and show you photos. The first one we're going to show you dates back to a new decree from Germany in 1942, when Germans decreed that all Jews must wear a yellow Star of David on their left breast while out in public so that they could be identified. The star you're seeing on screen right now belonged to Jenny Bunghoff. We also just a minute ago talked about how guards and physicians stood as the deportees arrived off the trains and chose who would live and who would die for the selection process. All of the guards always were dressed immaculately in a uniform and very shiny black jackboots. We have a pair of those jackboots here on display. You should be seeing a picture of that on your screen right now. And a lot of survivors would say the one thing they remember from the selection process were those shiny black boots, because they had their heads downcast, their eyes downcast, and what they remember are those shiny black boots. In contrast to the boots of the guards, what you're seeing now is a woman's red dress shoe belonging to an unknown deportee at Auschwitz. And this lone shoe represents the hundreds upon thousands of personal items, shoes, glasses, clothing, jewelry, books, makeup, everything that was taken from every deportee when they arrived at the camps, never to be reunited with their personal items again. When the concentration camps first began, prisoners actually slept on the floor of the barracks. But in 1941, the triple bunk bed was established and created. You should be seeing one of the triple bunk beds in our exhibition, which is an authentic artifact used in Auschwitz. And these bunk beds would house 2, 3, 4, 5 inmates per tier. Made it obviously very crowded and hard to sleep, but the barracks were overcrowded. And on the one hand, it provided a little bit of warmth, because they really didn't have blankets, they really didn't have clothes, they were just skin and bones, so the warmth of the human body helped, but it also helped spread disease. In 1948, 3 years after the camps were liberated, Pablo Picasso went to the World Congress of Intellectuals in Defense of Freedom in Poland. And while there, he took the opportunity to actually go visit what was left of Auschwitz. 7 years later, he drew this drawing that you are looking at. It's of a drawing of an Auschwitz prisoner. And that drawing was used on a poster to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. What you are looking at, what is in our gallery, is the original Pablo Picasso drawing. Now this is a 12,500 square foot exhibition filled with, like I said, over 700 artifacts, over 400 photos. But sometimes what's almost most impactful and powerful to myself, but to our guests, are the hundreds of quotes on the walls from survivors retelling their story. And as you're leaving this exhibition, the last thing you see is this quote you should see on your screen right now. It's from Auschwitz survivor Charlotte Delbo. And in my opinion, it is the most perfect representation of what we owe the survivors and the victims of the Holocaust. We need to make sure they lost their lives or suffered, that there was meaning, and that we are carrying on the lives that they might not have been able to have. So this is the last quote you would see as you exit our exhibition. So this exhibition is open now. It's open through August 13th, 2023. We are selling out. We're selling out most weekends. So we highly encourage you to purchase your tickets in advance of coming. We hate for you to drive all the way out here and us not have a ticket to sell you. Simply go to reaganlibrary.com/Auschwitz. That's reaganlibrary.com/Auschwitz. Pick your date, pre-purchase your tickets. As I said, we're selling out a lot of the weekends, so on the off chance you can come on a Monday through a Thursday or a Monday through a Friday, you're going to find a much less crowded experience. So if you are able to come on a weekday, we highly encourage that as well. As part of this exhibition, we are doing a lot of event programming. We actually have an event tonight you can watch on our YouTube channel. It will be streaming live at 6 p.m. Pacific. It's an event with Larry Loftis, who wrote, and I will show you the book actually. It's the true story of Corrie ten Boom and her family, a Dutch Christian family, and they helped save hundreds of Jews, both by hiding them in their watch shop, as well as helping the resistance, getting them ration cards, helping hide them across the country. When they were found out, the ten Boom family was actually sent to the camps, and a few of them died there. And it's the remarkable story of Corrie and her family. So again, you can watch that via live stream today at youtube.com/Reagan Foundation. But we will be holding 1, 2, 3 programs every month in relation to this exhibition, and you can learn all about it on our website, reaganlibrary.com, directly on our event page, reaganlibrary.com/events. Because we're showing you this book, I just wanted to show you a couple more that you can purchase in our store as part of this exhibition. The first one's really important. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a survivor of the Holocaust. We are selling this book in our store. It's probably the #1 selling book in our store. But what's so important about this book is the creator of this exhibition, when he was in his 20s, received this book for his birthday. He read the book. He was so moved and touched by what he read that it inspired him to create this exhibition, to really help educate people on Auschwitz, on the Holocaust, so that we never forget and so that it never happens again. So again, this is the book that started this exhibition. It's an amazing read and highly recommend it. All of these books can be purchased through the Reagan Library Museum store, reaganlibrary.com/store, and if you scroll down just a little bit, they're highlighted in our featured products section. The last book or books I want to show you is this exhibit. One of the things that this exhibit talks about, as well as all the horrors of the camp, it also does talk about the hiders. And because it talks about the hiders, we do have a section on Anne Frank. So of course we sell Anne Frank's diary in our galleries, in our museum store. You can buy it in our museum store. But what I really wanted to show you today was that we are trying to, with this exhibition, help educate. So the museum store is actually carrying a handful of books geared toward children and teens to teach them about the Holocaust in a way they can understand. So this book, we actually have 2 different books on Anne Frank geared toward children. This happens to just be one of them, but it actually tells Anne Frank's story with photos and through graphics, so it's an easier read and easier to digest, but with the same important messages of what Anne Frank represents, what the Holocaust represents. So again, all of these books can be purchased at reaganlibrary.com/store. So as we wrap this up today, I know I've been throwing a lot of URLs at you. I think the most important one is reaganlibrary.com/Auschwitz. You need to buy your tickets in advance. We are selling out. This really is a must-see exhibition. It's so important. So we thank you for watching us today. We know you have a lot of other things to do on any given day, a lot of different things to watch, and we appreciate that you choose us. Please come out and see this exhibition so that it never happens again, so that we never forget. Thank you for joining us.
I had a good life, and then suddenly everything changed.
The Nazis did come into our house, took my father, and threw him in concentration camp.
My aunt was pregnant when she was picked up.
2 sisters and 1 brother were taken directly to Auschwitz and were gassed.
That's where my grandmother met her fate, and the fate of so many other people.
With every generation that passes, the strength of the story diminishes, and that is very horrifying.
We must make sure that from now until the end of days, all humankind stares this evil in the face.